Joe Biden's chief of staff sides with teachers' unions and against kids who want to go back to school. No surprise there. And why not? Teacher unions donated many millions to Biden's campaign coffers. What did those selfish little snot-nosed kids ever do to support Team Biden? Let them stay home. I'm Dr. Duke, she's Katie, and this is The Dr. Duke Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to said Dr. Duke Show, the only program that keeps you educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. Today, we start at the White House, where President Joe Biden is doing everything in his power to protect teachers' unions, saying schools need more money to fight COVID before risking lives. Oh, and wouldn't you know it's about money? Let's just throw tens of trillions of dollars at the public school. They're not going to educate your kids any better, but they'll change their mind about not teaching. What else do you have to say here, right? What does any of this have to do with money at this point? We know that the World Health Organization, we know that the CDC have both come out and said recently that schools are about the safest place kids can be, with whether or not you're doing the 6 feet masking nonsense. Kids have a natural immunity to this stuff that makes it relatively safe, and there's not a huge pile of evidence that shows kids are transmitting the disease, the virus, to adults. And so what is this about? I think you got it right. Money. It's about money. We're going to hold your kids hostage until you give us more and more and more and more money, only some of which would be going to prepare for COVID, buy more cleaning agents and more cleaners. A lot of it has to do with unions getting a lot of money kicked back to them for their unilateral and overwhelming support for Joe Biden in the last election.
Well, and let's just take a look at Aaron Burnett of CNN talking to Ron Klain, the White House chief of staff.
In Chicago, the teachers union voted this weekend to continue remote learning. They were about to open. Town of Montclair, New Jersey, this story came across. Public schools were scheduled to reopen for hybrid learning. For elementary school kids, it'd be a first day of going to school in person since March of last year, 10 months. But then they scrapped plans at the last minute after the local teachers union refused to return to classrooms. Ron, why do you think that the unions in many cases are overruling what the studies show?
I don't think unions are overruling studies. I think what you're seeing is schools that haven't made the investments to keep the students safe. I mean, again, the Wisconsin study were classrooms of 12 on average. So that requires a lot more classrooms, a lot more teachers, or other kinds of arrangements to get them small. Podding students very carefully. So we need to do the things to open safely.
Yep, it's all about money, Mr. Klain, right? And what a BS statement he said. And Aaron, you too. First of all, these were not votes. These were not these teachers' unions deciding we're going to vote for safety. They rebelled against science. They rebelled against the information we have, the statistics we have from organizations like the CDC. They rebelled against what communities want, what mayors want, what everybody wants. They rebelled for their own good because they could probably get more money from it.
Well, and they rebelled against common sense, but they sided with feelings. And that's what these teachers unions do. And I like at least that Aaron Burnett for once said some examples, just a few of them.
Well,
I know it's
did you see how
CNN.
sympathetic
I know
she
it's
was?
CNN. I'm just saying for once. I'm trying to find the limelight here, the nice, bright, shining star. But what she was saying, that list could go on and on and on and on. And it's all because of the teachers unions. The teachers unions are the ones that are keeping our kids out of school. And yet mom and dad are going to everyone else instead of looking at the teachers unions as the culprit. And if we can get mom and dad's attention turned around and we can finally focus on that, maybe, just maybe.
Well, that's not going to happen with the president and his flack you just saw there, who don't care about this. They have to pay back the teachers unions. Do you think Joe Biden is going to stand up to the teachers unions on back? Do you think President Joe Biden is going to tell the teachers unions, for the good of the country, go back to your jobs? No. There is no more reliable vote for Democrats than teachers unions. And they're the biggest unions we have. In an era where we've killed off most of these ridiculous unions or let them die of their own cupidity, teachers unions are among the few who are alive and well because they extort huge amounts of money from their teachers, regardless of their politics, and throw it all at Democrat politicians. If you think the adults and the so-called adults in the room, the American government, Joe Biden and his cronies, are going to stand up to the teachers union, you better think again.
I know what this is all about. It comes down to one thing. Joe Biden does not have a song yet sung about him in the classrooms by the kids. If we could just get a song about Joe Biden saying how great and wonderful he is, like Obama got his song, then we could have the kids return.
Well, that's got to be really insulting to Biden because Kamala's got hers, right?
And Joe Biden still does not have his song, and he's just missing out on it.
What's the one that Andy Bernard sang about the old folk song, right? Oh, Mr. Bernard, oh, Mr. Bernard, right? The Kamala has her song. Barack had his song. No one's singing about Sleepy Joe.
That's the problem. That's where this real issue comes. But anyway, back to what's serious about this. The teachers union and money. That's all you need to know about this situation. Teachers union, money, and even the White House is saying it's money. So how, Mom and Dad, when you look at this, can you not see the major issue we have with teachers unions? Do you see it?
And I would say, too, many other unions have thrown off the shackles of union exploitation, not the teachers. There are so many teachers in this country. I wish there was a spine for them. If enough teachers got together and said enough is enough, they'd get whatever they want. But rather, they follow. The only thing they're willing to protest for is to stay home and not work and to walk out on your kids when classes are in session for higher pay as they did during Red for Ed. That's about all they're willing to sacrifice for, their own pocketbooks.
I know this may come as a shock to you, but science actually says that going to school in person is not NOT contributing to the spread of the coronavirus. Soak it all in, everybody. So the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, science, the researchers there found that those schools who are in person or have been in person since like September are not contributing hardly anything to the spread of the coronavirus. Oh my gosh. We have an article that was published in the Journal of the American Medical Association.
Hey, that sounds like a science journal.
Science!
Wow.
That reported the findings of only isolated reports. So like specific instances, but not widespread pandemic, if you will.
Here's a quote from the researchers. As many schools have reopened for in-person instruction in some parts of the United States as well as internationally, school-related cases of COVID-19 have been reported, but there has been little evidence that schools have contributed meaningfully to increased community transmission. The preponderance of available evidence, that's what's supposed to drive science, right? Science, which the Democrats and liberals say they believe in. But then again, these are the same people who believe that when I say I'm a girl, you have to treat me like one. So the science is not on the top of the list for progressives. The preponderance of available evidence from the fall school semester has been reassuring insofar as the type of rapid spread that was frequently observed in the congregate living facilities or high-density work sites has not been reported in education settings in the school. It doesn't happen. It's not happening.
What? I'm sorry, I'm stuck on science.
Science.
I thought, science was all talk, I thought.
They analyzed 11 North Carolina school districts that restarted in-person instruction for 9 weeks during the fall semester of 2020. Of the more than 90,000 students and staff attendance in the districts, just 32 infections were reported from school activities, and no cases of student to staff transmission were reported. None.
But those 32. Those 32, that's all we're seeing.
Party
32,
of science.
32.
Right.
32. I don't care about that 90,000 and the fact that it's no other student staff. No, 32.
Science.
That's all they're going to focus on. All they do. One thing. I'm surprised CNN isn't running with that 32.
It's funny.
Interviewing all the people.
I'm
seeing how they're
surprised
doing
that America
now.
hasn't woke up and figured out that the teachers union actually have a cure for COVID. Why have we not recognized this? This is genius.
They're too woke to be woke.
The teachers' unions have fixed the problem. It's just money.
There we go.
Spread enough money around. Just give people money. That will fix it. That's the entire answer that the schools have come up with. And look, you throw enough money at them, they'll open their schools tomorrow.
Well, don't worry. Dr. Margaret Honine, who's the lead author of the report, get ready. She'll be canceled soon, I'm sure. She says the conclusion here is with proper prevention efforts, we can keep transmission in schools and educational settings quite low. We didn't know that at the beginning of the year, but the data, science, has really accumulated. So you're saying we actually like follow data and numbers and
data, evidence,
truth,
the science,
what's actually happening.
Hey, haven't the progressives, including many of the teachers' unions, haven't they already told us that data and science and reason and the scientific method are all just variants of white supremacy? Haven't we heard that?
White privilege.
This is the same crowd who claims that literally science and data is a holdover of white supremacy. White supremacy and white privilege. That in math, this is the same crowd that says math doesn't mean anything. 2 + 2 is only 4 in a white oppressive context. Math is about feelings. It's not about numbers. Every way across the board, the progressives, and the perfect example of progressives are teachers union. They rank right up there with Hollywood, right up there with college professors in terms of their liberalism, big tech companies. I mean, you're dealing with the elite of the elite when it comes to progressive ideology at the schools, the people who own and control the schools. And isn't it funny? The same progressives who don't believe in science, the same progressives who don't believe in math, the same progressives that believe data and evidence is actually white supremacy, that they are the same progressives now that say, hey, money is the answer to the problem. And the Biden administration, as we saw in the previous story, walks lockstep in line with this.
So it's all about the Benjamins.
Well, the Harriets. We're going to have to get rid of Ben, and we're going to have to get rid of Andy Jackson. I mean, we're going to, that's the really important. That's the important stuff that's being tackled in Washington now.
Yeah,
right? Washington, D.C.
And the thing that is interesting to me with all of everything that's happening and how we think everything is so different now in politics and all that with our schools and everything's so different right now than what it used to be, it still all comes down to those on the left really want more money for everything they want to spend it on, and those on the right don't want the government in their lives. So it's the same old song as the Four Tops would sing.
If you're a white person who doesn't want the government up in your business, that's your own white supremacist, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And look, if we're going to put Harriet Tubman on the 20, right? Mm-hmm. Even though she was an insurrectionist, which now is supposed to be the end of the world, right? She was at Harper's Ferry, wasn't she? Yeah, the John Brown rebellion. Yeah, she was.
Oh, yeah, John
she's
Brown.
An insurrectionist, right? But she's she's that kind of when black and Antifa thugs attacked a little church right next to the White House and burnt it down, that was good insurrection.
That's for the cause.
That was okay, right? But if you're going to put Harriet Tubman, who was nothing more than an insurrectionist, on the $20 bill, I say you put Beyonce on the 100.
Beep, 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 beep. Breaking news. Teachers are not special. Nope, they're not. Not in the least, especially when it comes to the corona and obtaining the corona. According to a Great Britain study that just came out, the rate of death for teachers from the COVID-19 is not NOT again, any higher than the regular population. So, teachers, woe is me, fainting couch.
So this is
You're no more special.
This is a British study, right?
Great Britain.
Because we can't trust the American, medical community because they really didn't fight hard enough against Trump. So let's go to a genuinely progressive place like Britain. And you're telling me the scientists, or should I say the white supremacists, are saying the exact same thing?
This is correct. The Office for National Statistics. Oh, statistics. It's even in their name. ONS examined rates of death involving COVID-19 between March 9th and December 28th, 2020. So basically the extent of where we're at right now for all of the COVID pandemic. They found that the rates of death involving COVID-19 in men and women who worked as teaching and educational professionals, such as secondary school teachers, were not statistically significantly raised when compared with the rates seen in the population among those of the same age and sex. So what we're saying again is, breaking news, teachers are not special.
But now we have to say it in an English accent, don't we? Because maybe they'll take us more
Which
seriously.
Which one?
There were 139 deaths, Governor, involving the coronavirus in teaching and educational professionals aged 20 to 64. Years registered between 9 months. I'm sorry. I'm becoming Australian again.
Well, yes. And are you going to go for the proper British, or are you going to go for the Cockney accent?
I think you got to go Cockney. Just drop those H's, because to speak the High Queen's English is, of course, a microaggression.
Yes, it is true.
So, I mean, if you drop your H's like Eliza Doolittle, I think you're going to be better off here.
Anyway,
but see, reading it in English makes it more science-y.
But English
to progressives, it's more science-y.
Yes, and yet they do say English language is somehow racist.
It is, of
and
course.
all that. So anyway, statistically, I'm going to give you some numbers, and you can be like, whatever. But here they are. There were 139 deaths involving the coronavirus in teaching and educational professionals ages 20 to 64 registered in that time frame I talked about in England and Wales.
9
See,
months.
they included Wales in there because it's part of Great Britain. Anyway, and for both sexes, rates of death involving COVID-19 from the age group were statistically significantly lower than the rate of death involving it among all the other people. So they had 139 deaths for the teachers. And then the other rate was 18.4 deaths per 100,000 and 9.8 per 100,000. It was for males to females. And that all compares blah, 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 to the higher rate at the normal people of being 31.4 and 16.8. So teachers, almost half.
Yeah,
like especially
even
lower. So yeah, there were 66 deaths for males compared to, well, they only have the rate, they don't have the total for the other ones. Anyway, the moral of the story is it's like half or better lower. If you're a teacher, you're safer.
Yep, and nurses.
That's what it comes down to.
Nurses, to the surprise of nobody, are the ones who have the greatest danger, right? And it's funny. I haven't heard nurses walking out. I haven't heard nurses demanding more money.
I would like to talk about that.
Yeah.
Because I know many a nurse, and they are the ones still working 12
That's right.
to 14, 15-hour days with real risk. And even if, and the thing is, they personally have a higher risk, but so do their coworkers, which means if the coworkers get it, then the coworker has to be out of work, which means then they have to work more hours. They can't just call in a substitute nurse like you can at schools. Because all you need, by the way, if you're looking for a job right now, this is now become a job announcement. If you're looking for a job right now and you want to make money and do nothing, become a substitute teacher. Do you have a 4-year degree? Good. It doesn't matter what it's in. Underwater basket weaving? Good for you. Go be a substitute teacher. That's all it takes. 4-year degree, and you can be a long-term sub for the rest of the year and get paid thousands of dollars. I've seen advertisements now.
But you won't be able to teach on site. You have to do it online.
Oh, darn. So you can still wear your pajamas from home.
Work from home.
And get paid.
With no qualifications and get paid.
And you don't have that in nurses.
And I've never seen nurses engage in interpretive dance to protest having to work.
That's because they're working. Sorry.
To protest interpretive dance.
They're busy working. That's what's happening.
Okay.
No, anyway, back to our story. That was a little side advertisement there. ONS report, Ben Humberstone, that's a very Englishy name, Humberstone Benjamin, the head of Health Analysis and Life Events, said that today's analysis shows that jobs with regular exposure to COVID-19 and those working in close proximity to others continue to have higher COVID-19 death rates when compared with the rest of the working age population. Men continue to have higher rates of death than women, making up nearly 2/3 of these deaths. As the pandemic has progressed, we have learned more about the disease and the communities it impacts most. There are a complex combination of factors that influence the risk of death from your age and your ethnicity, not from you being a teacher.
So also, we keep hearing how minorities are affected much more than whites, and that's why this is the end of the world. Why is it that no one's said a word that men die at twice the race women do?
Because they should be.
Because they're men. This is the implicit bias, right? I promise you, if twice as many women were dying of COVID than men, this would be first and foreground, right?
Oh, it would be a sexist
all we would
disease.
be talking about.
It's a sexist disease.
To suggest going back to teaching is sexist. But now it's mostly men dying.
So
and those are statistics that even the British health organizations don't find terribly worth commenting on.
And also what affects it is where you live, who you live with. Oh my gosh, pre-existing health conditions? No way. Say it ain't so. But they're saying their findings don't prove that the rates of death involving are caused by differences in occupational exposure because science is you hypothesize and then you test it. So you're not certain 100% every step of the way because that's what science is. So there isn't proof there, but they found statistical significance and insignificance to show their point.
Party of science, my patootie.
Science. It's time now for some real education. Anthony Burgess wrote A Clockwork Orange in 1962. It's set in a future world of anarchy controlled by a subculture of amoral and violent youth. Ooh, joys. The dystopian novel was made into a disturbing and prophetic movie in 1971, directed by the one and only Stanley Kubrick.
Welcome again to Instant Classics, which for the last 3 weeks has been about dystopia. A dystopia is a dysfunctional civilization like the one we live in, a situation where our American republic has given way to a kind of corporate oligarchy where you have social media and media giants and corporations teaming with government to censor, to cancel, to do away with liberty. Of course, we have been warned about this for 150 years. Many of the great writers of Western culture have lectured us that this was coming. And men and women of the left wrote these books criticizing left-wing movements like socialism and Marxism, because this is surely a socialist underpinning to this new oligarchy that has replaced the republic. It is a form of socialism. It is a form of globalism. And so Burgess's Clockwork Orange is one of the more disturbing dystopian novels of the last 100 years, primarily because when you took it off the page and you projected it on screen under the direction of Kubrick, the violence really sunk in. To see that level of violence and rape, as opposed to just reading about it, the anarchy of the young kids, the younger generations. One of the premises of A Clockwork Orange is the future will be controlled by gangs of young people, poorly educated, morally indifferent, and violent groups of young anarchists. Does that sound like anybody you know, Black Lives Matter? How about you, Antifa? Here's what Burgess actually said, one of the great quotes from the novel. Quod scripsi, said Pontius Pilate, when he made Jesus Christ the King of the Jews. What I have written, I have written. We can destroy what we have written, but we cannot unwrite it. That's brilliant, right? He goes back to the insanity of Pontius Pilate, who said effectively, what I have written, I have written. That's it. I am the law. And yet, the law was tyrannous and put to death an innocent man. And what he says there at the end, Burgess, the law can indeed be hidden, lied about, effaced. What you have written can be obliterated, but not what it means. And that is a perfect statement about what's happening here. You are canceling free speech. You are canceling free association. You are canceling now in this country due process. You literally have huge numbers in the government who are demanding that a law be passed, a law, so that Donald Trump his name cannot be on any buildings, even as much as a park bench. I mean, what kind of vitriolic nonsense is this? How far have we wandered from difference of opinion and idea? How far have we strayed from democratic principles? How far have we rejected Republican government, where the party in power now is working with corporations and tech giants and media and entertainment and academia to censor the rights, responsibilities, and privileges, the liberties of anybody who thinks different for any reason. This is our own dystopia. It's not a novel anymore. It's the world we live in.
All right, well, just a reminder to please download our brand new Freedom Project Media app on your smart device. You're going to be able to watch all of our videos, including every episode of Dave Fiorazzo's show, Christ and Culture. You also get in-depth interviews, all of our lectures, educational animations, and so much more. All you have to do to find it is simply search Freedom Project wherever you download apps, and make sure, please, to allow for notifications. Now, we want to take a moment, show some love to the Patriot Club members who keep this show going. And today, we're going to give a shout out to Keith from Allenton, Pennsylvania. Thank you for supporting us, Keith. And if you're a fan of the show, please consider a one-time tax-deductible donation to support the Patriot Club, and we're going to send you a signature tumbler. Visit patriotclub.us to sign up. That's patriotclub.us. Now let's wrap things up with the fun fact of the day. When you count before you hit 1,000, no word version actually contains the letter A.
A is for Allentown, and I'm living here in Allentown, and it's hard to keep a good man down, but I won't be getting up today. And that's going to do it for the show. For Freedom Project, I'm Duke, she's Katie. Until next time, Stay educated, my friends. We're watching you.